Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Predator's given some harsh criticism of JoeDeceives in recent OpTic scrum, suggesting the man is only good in an online setting and doesn't translate it onto LAN. Do the numbers necessarily back this up, and how good will Toronto end up being this season with comparison to OpTic, FaZe and Thieves, expected to be the top teams in the CDL for the future year? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. This is the Cloud9 jersey they are rocking with the upcoming season. We know that the teams are largely introducing some new stuff for the new season, right? Because it's now like allowed again. I'm pretty sure the CDL for the last like 2 years it's basically been the same. This year they can make new stuff. I like what they've done here, to be fair. It is still sad, as far as I'm concerned, that the New York Subliners brands no longer exist, especially with such like an unglamorous exit. They just disappear and Cloud9 take over, and like it's kind of fire what they've done. They are Cloud9 New York still, so you see the C9 NY stuff going on in the background. This is actually kind of fire what they've put together here, I'm not gonna lie, to announce this to the world. We know their team, we know their coach. I find it interesting as well that, you know, look, Accuracy is the coach, but they are introducing Accuracy and speaking with him as if he's part of the team, which I think is a nice way to do it. Usually teams, you know, it's just a four-man team, right? But every single part of the Cloud9 New York entity so far implies that Accuracy could be a player. Now, he's not going to be a player. He's not going to sub in. It's not a five-man roster with Accuracy as the sub. We're pretty sure anyway. He's the coach. But the way that they present it is that he is fully part of the team. And I think that's maybe going to be quite positive for their team dynamics for the new season. But look, will the team be any good? Who knows? This is, well, some of the jersey concepts anyway. This is the new logo, of course, the Cloud9 New York logo. It's maybe not the prettiest, in my opinion, but I guess it kind of works, and I'm not a massive fan of this one, to be fair, but the blue, you can never really go wrong. With a Cloud9 blue jersey, it's always going to go pretty hard, and I think they've kind of delivered again on these ones. So we'll see what other teams come up with. Of course, these are interesting because they're new, right? C9 hasn't been in Call of Duty for, I think it was Infinite Warfare. I almost said Black Ops 3, but I'm pretty sure it was Infinite Warfare when they last had their time in COD. I think Priestahh was on it was like Priestahh, Aches, and whatever that team was in the early part, and towards the end, I think, of Infinite Warfare as well. They had a couple of interesting rosters that year, but after they've been out of the league for a long time, they're now back in business. Of course, when OpTic reveal their jersey, people are going to be excited to see what OpTic have cooked up, if anything, right? Maybe it's going to be the same old stuff, and understandably, if you've got a good design, why change it? But Cloud9's new, so therefore exciting on some level. This, by the way, I will say, if this is actually true, I'm going to be fuming. Now, it does seem like Hacienda, and I know you guys were mentioning this yesterday, Hacienda's coming back into the game, which is good, but it seems to be ripped basically directly from the Warzone map, and that has its problems because, first of all, it seems like the colours aren't what they used to be, probably because it's a straight Warzone rip. And secondly, there might be doors on the map, because this screenshot was going around yesterday with doors at the top level here on Hacienda. I literally made the comment in yesterday's video that it seems like they are replicating the game exactly from Black Ops 4 with no doors. But all of a sudden you look at this image and you think, well, hang on, are they actually going to bring doors into the game? Because look, if Treyarch bring doors in, I'm convinced that either Treyarch are basically been taken hostage or something by, I don't know, Joe Seagot and the boys at Infinity Ward are being forced to do this stuff, or they've just completely lost the plot. And I think, you know, number one is more likely than number two. It does seem like the Infinity Ward style, the engine, some of the decisions when it comes to map design and even game design, we're going to talk about Ninja later on today, definitely aren't giving me that Treyarch vibe in a way. So hopefully the doors are always open as they used to be. If the doors actually aren't always open, look, the map's still going to play better for competitive than most of the other ones in the game. But I will be fuming if they don't bring it back as it initially was. These, by the way, are the other two maps that could be considered. Unfortunately, having looked at them, I'm just not so sure. I know that people were looking at this first map, Hideout, here and saying, oh, might be a great competitive map in terms of prop hunts, because look at all the things on it that you can potentially, you know, become and run around as. Like, you look at the layout of the map as well. This is maybe the more viable of the two. That's the concern. Maybe there's a chance. Again, it's a pretty small map, which looks kind of like maybe for Search and Destroy it has a chance. For Respawns, I'm just not really convinced in this one on the Hideout, to be honest. There's also this map called Extraction, which I think for pubs could be quite fun. But for competitive, not so convinced. Again, maybe for search, it kind of has maybe search and destroy vibes here, but again, it's a pretty small 6v6 map, right? And that really shouldn't be much of a surprise, but we are hoping for at least something to change in the near future when it comes to better maps arriving, and maybe Hacienda isn't even going to arrive in its original form, which is somewhat concerning. Big tourney is either coming up or coming up this evening. There is tomorrow on the 10th of November, the $10,000 S&D Creator Invitational hosted by Hitch. So Icons, of course, running this one. Some interesting teams put together here. The tournament that Kaysan ran the other day did so well in terms of numbers. We'll have a look at that later today. But Kaysan's also running another big tournament. This is getting people really excited because it starts today, this one. I think, is it just today or is it over a 2-day thing? I'm not exactly sure. We'll talk about it tomorrow for sure. But anyway, round 1 games begin today, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, FaZe versus 100T, OpTic versus Cloud9. So this is a LAN before the LAN. It's not like an official Call of Duty League LAN or anything, but it is provided some funding for by the league. I mean, they've got Activision, Call of Duty, the copyrights and stuff at the bottom here. It's going to be, I think, potentially broadcast on the official Call of Duty channel. So going to be fascinating to see how they get on here. And yeah, Kaysan, as he says, Showdown coming up, Black Ops 6, 100 Thieves versus FaZe, Cloud9 versus OpTic Gaming. And, you know, it's interesting the OpTic Gaming logo is here, right? Because I guess they're not playing as their franchises. I guess that's the point. Like, this isn't Atlanta FaZe. This isn't OpTic Texas or Cloud9 New York or Los Angeles Thieves. It's they're representing another team, which is maybe how they've got around this kind of typical limitation on not being able to play with the franchise rosters before the season starts by saying, well, we're not playing for our franchise, we are playing for another entity. But it just so happens that all of these entities happen to have another entity that is a Call of Duty League enterprise. But this is going to be a banger. Black Ops 6 Showdown, I don't know who's the favorite for this. I mean, it's early days in the game, so who knows how close this could be to call. But all the top theoretical teams are there. OpTic Cloud9's fascinating, but FaZe 100T is the pick of the first round bunch for sure. Drazah versus Scrappy, running it up as always. This is the way that it goes. 50k prize pool. Upper bracket is best of 5s. Lower bracket's best of 5s. Grand finals best of 7s. They're playing Protocol, Vault, Skyline, Rewind, and Red Card on Hardpoint and Search and Destroy. So this might be one of the sickest tournaments, I'm not going to lie, of the entire year. As I say, we'll talk more about that relatively shortly, but we've got to talk about this comment here from Pred, because Toronto Ultra not attending the Kaysan Showdown this weekend to obviously determine maybe the best team right now here in Black Ops 6 after a couple of weeks of gameplay. But Toronto are looking to be there or thereabouts. Toronto will on paper say, well, okay, Cloud9, New York, they were the team that made the World Championship Grand Final, so understandably they are going to get some degree of, credit when it comes to making the decisions that they have done. So understandably they're going to get, some degree of preference maybe when it comes to who got invited to the tourney. But, someone had to be invited out of the other 3 teams, right? It was obviously OpTic, Los Angeles Thieves, and the FaZe boys. Someone else had to be invited. It was probably going to be Cloud9, but they may not be the 4th best team. At least on paper, there's a theory that, okay, maybe it's going to go to somebody else. And could Toronto potentially be that team? That is a conversation that is currently being had, and Pred is, well, looking to kickstart some of those conversations. They played Toronto. They won this scrims, I think, 3-1, but they did play the 5 maps. We saw that talked about just yesterday. But during this game, there was a couple of interesting clips, such as this one here from Pred. So JoeDeceives takes him down, guns him here on the top of the map on Skyline, and Pred wasn't ready for the gunfight, couldn't quite snap in time, and GG's on that one. JoeDeceives and the boys get the win. But it's JoeDeceives and CleanX, the SMG duo here. It's going to be an interesting duo to keep your eyes on, but Pred isn't so impressed with JoeDeceives. A player who had a pretty impressive debut season on Los Angeles Guerrillas a couple of years ago. Last year on Thieves, he started well, at least, started okay. Eventually gets benched, Afro stays, then they swap it around, then Joe gets much better towards the end of the year and ends up getting a 4th and a 2nd, and was one of the most impactful players towards the end of the season. Can he replicate that though this year? Maybe not. Pred doesn't think he can do it on LAN.
Piano again, I tagged it for you, Kim.
He just held, low kitchen going right, bro.
He's one shot, just ironing, bro. Is CleanX an ironer now?
What's two catch.
Low piano stairs.
I needed like
piano stairs.
Top mid JoeDeceives. Guy can't get a kill on land. Nice.
Across the top. Low kitchen on me, round 1. Low kitchen.
Take a pinner, no?
Low kitchen,
Nice, I'm hitting on the ground.
yeah. That's in your CleanX.
Low kitchen, Marcel. Absolute low kitchen, bro.
So what do you guys think about Pred's comments here, right? Because JoeDeceives, as a player, it's got to be said, his LAN record isn't maybe all that dissimilar to his play online. If you look at the numbers actually from this season, his LAN card was better than his online card. Now, there might be a part to play there, the fact that the team got better at the end of the season when they, were at more LANs for longer, right? So, because online, Joe was only 11-10 this year, but on LAN he was 8-9. So he actually played almost as many LAN matches as online, which is, hopefully every year from now to the end of time, that will be the case, but we know that it won't be, and, the teams will tend to play more online, but it's because he was benched for a little while, but he played the LANs at the end of the year, certainly the Esports World Cup, where they played a fair few series, group play, the main tournament, stuff like that, and did well at them. We got a better showcase, really, of that Thieves team. Now, of course, they were better at the end of the year, and therefore there were better positions for JoeDeceives to do well, but still by the numbers, if you look at the KDs and stuff, his KD hardpoint online was a 0.86, online it was a 0.95, but it's not even about that. It's the damage, it's the kills, it's the hill time, all better on LAN than online. Obviously, in Search and Destroy, it was slightly worse. His first blood rate was definitely better online than on LAN, but even then, his damage per round was actually higher on LAN. So either way, his Search and Destroy wasn't where he would, have wanted it to be. But then in Control, KD, pretty similar. Obviously, ticks per round, damage per round, pretty similar either way as well. So, it doesn't seem to me that on paper, JoeDeceives is like one of the biggest onliners in the league. There are some names that come to mind when you talk about teams that have done especially well online and not necessarily been able to replicate that. Thieves, to be honest, weren't really one of those teams as far as I'm concerned. But, look, maybe Pred has reason to say what he said, and we'll see what happens when the season officially gets underway. Because that Toronto team, they're going to be interesting when it comes to LAN, because we know that online, Toronto can do pretty well. They've got that Bell fiber line running out of Toronto, and it's pretty rapid. JoeDeceives is based out there with CleanX, Insight, and of course Scrappy is long gone, and therefore it's going to be aBeZy, of course, that's coming to that lineup. So what do you guys think about this stuff in the comment section below? Will JoeDeceives get his revenge this year on some level? And obviously Pred also making the comments there on CleanX saying, wow, this guy's playing in a different way to what we have seen before. The game tends to play slower earlier on than it does down the line. How good is that SMG duo of CleanX JoeDeceives going to be? Because on paper there's some promise there, but it's far from guaranteed they are going to deliver some serious results. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Thought this is pretty funny as well, actually. The Thieves boys out in LA, of course, for the Kaysan tournament coming up this evening. And just to close out with here from FaZe, thought this is kind of interesting. EWC, of course, they put together some nice graphics here. Atlanta FaZe Call of Duty tournament titles, their winning history. And it's remarkable in some ways to think like how scary a force FaZe have been in COD for, a long time, and in the CDL era especially on some level. This is what they've won. It's a fair bit, but it's not anything maybe insane, given that they've obviously been around the top of COD for the last 5 years. They won 2 of these, our home series. So actually, well, to be fair, the Atlanta one was on LAN, the Florida one was online. Then they won, obviously, 3 majors and champs during 2021, nothing in 2022, a single event in 23, a single event in 24 during the regular COD season, and then the World Cup. So, still, the FaZe boys have a little bit of something to prove this season, that they can start capitalizing again on the talent they have, but the league now is more top heavy than it's probably ever been, so it's going to be a challenge. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.